Hello and welcome to EC Angling. We are starting a new playlist on this channel which focuses on getting into fishing and how to do that cheaply and effectively. In this episode, the first in the series, we will be looking at the basics of getting started as far as tackle and rigging goes. Here is the basic equipment that you will need to get started fishing. I've selected a 10-foot fishing pole. Again, a pole is used without a reel. A rod is used with a reel. The company is B&M in this case. The name of the particular pole is the Black Widow. Why, I don't really know. It says Ready Rig. That is because it comes with this little rig here, which can work for certain scenarios, but it's probably not best for just general fishing. This 10-foot pole is rated for 4 to 8 pound test, and we will be using 4-pound test line. The pound test of the line refers to the breaking strength of the line. So in this case, a 4-pound test would mean it would take 4 pounds of pressure to break the line. In theory, that is somewhat variable. We'll also need some small floats or bobbers, whichever you prefer to call them. The key to these is the size. You do want to go with the smallest size you can get. This has the advantage of being more sensitive, so you can tell when a fish bites, and also being harder for the fish to feel when they bite. So when they pick up the bait in their mouth, they won't feel so much resistance from a big old bobber being pulled around, and they're less likely to drop that bait, and you're more likely to catch that fish. Also need a pack of small split shots. Now, a split shot is a weight. Basically, it's a little round ball with a split in one side, and this will be crimped onto your line, and it won't slide too much. And this provides weight, which can help make your bait sink down to the bottom. Also can help set the float in such a way that it makes it more sensitive, and can provide casting weight as well. For pole fishing, casting weight's not such an issue, but it can still be useful at times. Now, hooks. Arguably one of the most important things in your setup is choosing the right hook. Unfortunately, here in America, we're kind of limited on the variety of hooks that I would consider to be really effective. When in doubt, go small. That is the biggest thing I can say. These are size 8 hooks made by Eagle Claw, plain shank, all-purpose live bait hook. That's what they call it. Basically, a small hook can catch a big fish, but a big hook cannot catch a small fish nearly as well. Honestly, these hooks are plenty robust enough to catch fish up to several pounds. Basically anything you're ever likely to encounter on this pole. My son just caught a 3 or 4 pound koi on it the other day on these hooks using this setup when I was testing it to make sure that everything worked the way I would like. So you can't go wrong there. If you can get a size smaller than a size 8, I would recommend it. Hook sizes are kind of reversed, so the smaller the number, the bigger the hook. So a size 6 hook is bigger than a size 8 hook, and a size 10 hook is smaller than a size 8 hook. I would go with a maximum size of a size 8. If you can get smaller, definitely do so. The only other thing we have here is a small elastic band, which will be helpful later on for actually a couple of different things. $14.03. Not too bad to get started fishing. There will be possibly some other things you might want to purchase as well, such as a pair of pliers. Needle nose pliers are excellent, and they can be used for removing the barbs of hooks. The barb is a little piece of metal, sharp piece of metal sticking out below the point of the hook, which keeps the bait or the fish from coming back off, but it also keeps fingers and ears and clothing from coming back off too. So it's much easier if you just crimp down those barbs when you begin, and the fish will still stay on just fine in 99% of cases. And if you hook something you don't intend to hook, the hook will come right out. So that is something to bear in mind. So a pair of pliers is good for taking off barbs, also good for taking off fish that may swallow the hook deeply. Other than that, something to trim line in general. The pliers will often have cutters on them, but you can also use nail clippers or scissors or just about anything to get that job done. A knife, anything sharp that will cut the line. I'm going to touch back on this line one more time. This is monofilament line, which means it is made out of a single strand of plastic. It's also clear. There are other lines on the market that come in all different colors. Some of them are monofilament. There's also braid line, which comes in many different colors, but is typically not clear. For what we're doing with this, we want monofilament. It has more stretch, which allows the fish to pull without breaking the line, or your pole or something else. And it also has the benefit of being clear, which is harder for the fish to see. Alright, so now that we've covered the basics of what we need, let's move on to part 2 and look at how to set it up. Okay, so here's the pole. These here are clips for holding your line when you're not fishing. It is pretty handy to have these because you can wind your rig around these when you're done fishing. Keep it all stored. At the bottom end, which is also called the butt end, there is a screw-off cap that keeps the sections of this pole, which is telescopic, so it folds down into a piece this long and will extend out to 10 feet, keeps those pieces locked inside. Just make sure this stays on tight. You'd never really have a reason to take it off. If it falls off and you lose it, then it becomes much more challenging to keep the sections of the pole in place. You can still use it, they'll slide out the bottom and it just can create kind of a mess. So, going out to the other end, comes from the store with a little plug. Take that plug out, and then you'll see the telescoping sections here. Very end, there is a metal loop, and that's what we will attach the line. I'm going to show you one knot that will work for setting up. Your line comes clipped in here. Take it off. You make the knot, put it through the eye, twist it 7 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's created a little loop right at the bottom. I'm going to put it through there and then back through the bigger loop we just created. Grab the tag end, snug it down, wet the knot a little bit with water or saliva, pull that down. That is called an improved clinch knot or a fisherman's knot, and it can be used to tie line onto any sort of eyelet. So in this case, the end of the pole and the hook, which are the only 2 knots you're going to need to tie. You are left with a tag end. Snip that off with a knife. Now, we have the line attached to the end. We're going to extend this pole while playing out line from the spool. Extend it to its full length, so 10 feet. And we're going to keep going down all the way to about probably 6 inches from the bottom of the pole. About there. Going to trim that. We can set the line aside. Now, don't want it to make it quite as long as the pole because that'll make it difficult to use. Now, we're going to take one of our little floats here. There is a stopper in the top. We're going to pull that out, or try to. There we go. And that is what holds the float in place on your line. There's a hole down the middle of the float. Going to slide the line right through. Slide it up probably 18 inches or something, like that. Put the stopper back in. Don't press it in too tight, just lightly will be fine. And that keeps the float from moving on the line. Now, we're going to tie our other knot. Get out one of our hooks. Same thing as before. We're going to put it through the eye of the hook. Now the part of the hook that's the eye is the loop at the top of the hook that you put the line through. That's called the eye. Then we're going to leave a nice, probably 4 or 5 inch long tag. Wrap that around 7 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Goes back through that loop you've just created down at the bottom. Bends around, goes through that bigger loop. Pull it till it's a little bit snug. Moisten it so that the line doesn't have any friction on it, or less friction on it. Go ahead, kind of push the knot up if you need to. Pull on the tag end, pull on the main line there. And there you have it. There's the hook tied on. Trim this tag end about probably 1/8 of an inch, a couple of millimeters. That way it can't slide back through if it slips a little bit, and your hook won't come off. You won't lose the fish. So now we have the hook in the float, and you can use it just like that in many cases. However, if you want the float to be a little bit more sensitive, or you want a little bit more weight, or if you want the bait to get down to the bottom faster, you can add a little split shot. Now these are lead. They do sell non-lead split shot in many places, non-toxic split shot in many places. However, at Walmart, the one I went to at least, they didn't have that option. They only had lead ones. So you don't want to let your kids play with these because they are toxic. So, get out one of these. These are size 3/0. 3/0. You can see on the front there. And generally speaking, it's better to go smaller than larger, simply because you can always add more if you need to. Go up probably about 8 inches from the hook. And these are fairly soft lead. You can generally just use your fingers. Squeeze them shut. You can see now it's on the line. So, starting from the end of the line, we have a hook, a split shot, and a float. And you can use this for many, many different species of fish. In testing this out, and over time, just when using this, I've caught all sorts of different species, including various species of sunfish, smaller catfish, trout, crappie, bass, just about anything that people fish for, honestly, can be caught on this rig at one time or another. The rig that comes with it, on this little, what's called a winder, has a larger hook. Looks like it's probably intended for crappie. The line is quite heavy, at least 8-pound test, probably a lot heavier than that. And you could use this to fish for larger fish if you needed a heavier breaking strain. So don't discard this. It could be handy at some point, and I may talk about that later on if there's interest in trying to target slightly larger fish with this pole setup. But for the most part, this is just trying to catch as many fish as you can and have a great day fishing with the family. So we're just going to set that aside. Basically, that is all you need to do. The only thing you could possibly do is take your rubber band, put it around the bottom of the pole, double it over in this case because it needs to be tighter, put the hook under it, so when the pole is extended, you have a place to put the hook. Keep it from swinging around. You can even put bait on there and then hook it up like that. So if you got younger anglers out fishing, this will keep the hook from swinging around and sticking in things it shouldn't and getting tangled and whatnot. So that is one thing to do with a rubber band. And that is it. It is really super simple to set up a pole outfit, and you can really catch a lot of different fish on it. I will be doing, in the next episode, a little demonstration of how to use it, as well as talk about the bait. Just for a heads up on the bait, it is really cheap. We are going to be using things like sweet corn, canned sweet corn, and bread. So you're looking at under $1 in bait. So there you have it. That is how to select and set up a pole to catch fish, simply and cheaply. Next episode, we will look at how to actually take this out on the water and catch some fish with it. So the tactics that you will use to maximize your success, minimize frustration. Thanks for watching this episode on EC Angling. Please like and subscribe down below, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.